What's up, guys? This is the JMXNation podcast. I am your host, the straight edge one himself, Justin Smith. And my guest is the former and the longest reigning Empire Junior Heavyweight Champion, the world's greatest athlete, Johnny Viper.
What's going on, everybody?
Johnny, I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions, including, I guess, the first question I'm gonna ask you: how did you come to wanting to basically destroy your body for the entertainment of others?
Yeah, we do destroy our bodies, don't we? And I've been a fan of wrestling since I was a little kid. Grew up watching it. I think one of the first events that I really remember watching was SummerSlam after WrestleMania 10. It was the rematch with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title in a ladder match. And that's just one of my earliest. I mean, I've watched it before that, obviously, but that's one of my first memories. And I got into it big. And then about my freshman year of high school in '99, I got hooked up with Matt Fortune, who you had on your last podcast. And me and him, we got to talking, and he was like, "Hey, man, me and my two brothers, we mess around in our backyard and stuff." So I was like, "Yeah, man, let me come over there." So we did that, and then we did that for 4 years. And then I got a baseball scholarship at college for a year. And when I got back, Matt called me up and was like, "Hey, there's this show, Dark Side Wrestling in Fort Oglethorpe at the Winter Circle. Like, they're going to start a show up, and you need to come down with me." So I went down, and it's funny, I did some training there, but my first match was at RCW in Chatsworth, and this was 2004, I believe. So
No, that's pretty cool. What's cool is I actually started getting back into wrestling in 2004, which I was 9, which is pretty cool.
Jeez, how old was I in 2004? I was 20, I think. Yeah, no, I was 19. I was 10 years older than you.
Well,
But yeah, and I'll never forget that first night we ran that Dark Side. It was March 17th, I believe, of 2004, and the show started at 8, and it was literally like 34 degrees when the show started. I mean, it was just miserable cold. I'll never forget that as long as I live. Like, it was just absolutely miserable. We had easy 130, 140 fans, and it was an outside show. It was on the Winter Circle. Is kind of like for the people that don't know, it's kind of like they have like go-kart tracks and mini golf and laser tag on the inside, but we were on the slick track of the go-karts, and it was an outside show, and it was just that ring was like bumping on concrete. It was so miserable.
yeah, if I was one of the fans, I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to sit here and watch this out in the cold, so I'm going to go.
I was surprised that more people didn't leave. Like, everybody stayed. It was pretty neat to see. They was all bundled up, and we had the big heaters. But I mean, it was a good show, but it was just miserably cold. And then we worked shows when it was pouring down rain, and I mean, it was a crazy show, but it was a lot of fun. I had a blast at that show. I miss it.
Okay, how did the name Johnny Viper, come up?
Well, me and Matt and his two brothers, one of our things, we called everybody Johnny. Everybody was Johnny. So when we got to the point where we were coming up with names, I just started jotting things down, and I came up with Johnny and Joey. Those are my two names that I wanted to go by. And with Joey, I came up with Joey Divine, which that could have been pretty cool, but it ended up being a relief pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. His name was Joey Divine, so I'm kind of glad I didn't go with that. But I was just me and another friend that I went to college with. He was big into wrestling, and we were just throwing out last names. I was like, I think I'm going to go with Johnny. So we were just throwing out, just different last names, seeing what worked, and he threw out Viper. And I think he actually went Viper is in the car. but I took it as Viper as in the snake, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I think I can run with that, and it took off from there.
Yeah, but look at this. This is years before, like, Randy Orton did the whole Viper gimmick. So
WWE has, and I say this jokingly, but they've ripped me off so many times it's not even funny. I did the Viper thing 10, 12 years before Randy Orton did it. I came out. I'm a big Killswitch Engage fan, so This Fire Burns, I used that as entrance music 4 years before CM Punk started using it. Mark Jindrak, his finisher is the Mark of Excellence, and I was using that as a finisher about 2 years before he started using it. So they've so many different things that it's felt like they've ripped me off. They haven't, but I mean.
Yeah, they probably thought it was cool and be like, oh, we saw it at indie shows, which they do that a lot. They'll put stuff they see, and they won't, say that they did, but they'll get some of their stuff from indie shows that they saw.
Yeah, I like to think that they've seen me do some of this stuff, and like, that's really cool. I can't remember who it was. Somebody used my guillotine leg drop recently on Raw, and I can't remember who it was, but I remember seeing it, and I was like, they didn't do it exactly like I did. It was a variation of it, but it was still it was noticeable. And I was like, man, that's my move. Let's chalk that up to another one that WWE's confiscated from me.
Yeah. Wait, that leg drop, isn't it where you kind of go up like you're going to be like a Undertaker's old school, and then you do the drop kick?
No, that's the tightrope drop kick. The guillotine leg drop is when they're laying on the bottom rope, their heads on the outside of the ring, and I stand on the inside of the ring and I jump up and over the top rope. And
oh yeah, I know what it is now.
Yeah, that one.
Got those confused because
so many moves. By the way, I was watching my ladder match with Andrew Alexander the other day, and I did that guillotine leg drop, and I leg dropped the ladder and shot it up in his face, and I forget how painful that is to land on the ladder like that. But that was a fun match.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, it was good saying, a short summary of how you got started there. How'd you get the nickname Woods Grass Athlete? Because let me just tell you, when I heard that name first time, I was like, and saw, no offense, you're pretty skinny, man. You're like the Woods Grass Athlete. I was like, really, him? How'd he get that name?
That one, I did. I can't remember my very first nickname, but it kind of evolved into that because I did. What was it? I can't remember my original, but it was something along the lines of like Pretty Boy or something like that. But I did the Canadian Cruiserweight for 4 or 5 years. And then that graduated from the Canadian Cruiserweight to Canada's Greatest Athlete. And then I did that for 2 years. And then if I'm Canada's, I'm just going to screw it. I'm the world's greatest athlete. And then so it kind of evolved from the Canadian Cruiserweight all the way up to world's greatest athlete. And being a bad guy, that worked for me, doing all the dirty stuff that I did and cheating and all that. It worked for me,
Yeah, and I will have to say this, to let the fans know, or you probably, I know this, but you're a big Edge fan.
Oh, yeah.
And it with Edge's character like he did, Rated R Superstar, it worked for him. And I'm guessing this Woods Grass Athlete worked for you very much.
Oh, yeah, it's a play off of the Rated R Superstar. There's a lot of Edge in everything I do. There's a lot of Shawn Michaels, and I mean, I try to take certain things from wrestlers that I like, but yeah, Edge is top of the list for me, all-time favorite wrestler for me. And I actually, it's awesome, but it's sad in a way, but I was at WrestleMania 27 that was in Atlanta?
Yes, it was.
As 27, I was at WrestleMania 27, so I physically got to witness his last match live. So it's cool in a way, but it's kind of sad. And that's why I transitioned. I still do the Final Strike, which is it's what people might know it as Pay Dirt. It's an old Shelton Benjamin move. I think R-Truth's using it now. It's pretty much a jumping flatliner, but I kind of transitioned from that back for using the spear as a finish, just because he retired.
Yeah. That right there. How you feel about him saying he's in a way glad it's done with?
I mean, it's extremely hard to walk away from. It's like a drug. You get addicted to it. You get addicted to walking out and hearing the crowd cheer you or boo you. You get addicted to getting the reaction, and but like you said at the beginning of this, we're putting our bodies on the line. It's every bit as physical as sport as anything else you can do, and there's been plenty of Sundays and Mondays and Tuesdays that I've just drugged myself out of bed and just, it hurts to move sometimes. Like right now I'm down with a stinger in my shoulder and I'm, having to do this rehab stuff, and it's killing me that I can't be in the ring or anything. But at the same time, it's actually kind of nice just to sit back and let my body heal for a while. But even though I know eventually, I'll be 100% and I'll be right back in the ring, putting my body on the line every night. But I can see where Edge and other people that have retired have been like, it's awesome to be retired. I've walked away from it because you're not putting your body through that anymore. So I can see where they say stuff like that.
Yeah. But especially with him, like the WWE schedule, they say that schedule is probably the most brutal schedule in pro wrestling because it's like they don't really have a off day. They basically have a few off days a week, and then basically overseas tours and everything else.
Yeah, you're on the road. I think the last I heard, I forget who it was. I think it was Daniel Bryan. I heard talking about it the other day, but you're literally on the road. It's 365 days in a year. You're on the road for maybe 320 of them. So that leaves 30 off days in a whole calendar year, and that's insane. And it's get to the arena at, say the show starts at 7:30. You get to the arena at 4. You go through all your stuff, do your match. Then you get in a car and you either stay in a hotel room and get up early the next morning and drive, or you drive throughout the night and sleep a few hours the next day, And with WWE, they've got media, they've got radio interviews and TV interviews, and, they've got I think today they're starting the SummerSlam stuff for Sunday. So I know they had a celebrity softball game today, and I know there's a few like Kevin Owens and Sasha Banks, they're booked on SummerSlam, but they're also booked the night before for the NXT event. So they're doing, back-to-back.
Yeah. Becky Lynch, Charlotte, they're doing those two. So it's back-to-back-to-back. Actually, it's NXT Saturday, Sunday SummerSlam, and Monday Raw.
Yeah, and then you look at Kevin Owens. He's got the ladder match Saturday night. He's got John Cena Sunday night, and then not John Cena, but Cesaro Sunday night, and then whatever he does Monday night. And I'm going to go on record right now and say that Kevin Owens Cesaro match is probably going to be one of the tops of the night. That's one of the matches that I'm looking forward to on the SummerSlam card this year.
Yes. Even though I have been gone on record, I do not like Kevin Owens. I haven't disregarded that I haven't said, oh, he's not a good wrestler, because he's a phenomenal wrestler. Like, I love his matches with Cena. It brought something out of Cena he never, I hadn't seen in years since his actual matches with Edge. He's a good face, and you need a good heel to combat that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things with wrestling. I'm like a lot of the other wrestlers. I'm always watching it. I'm always, whatever I can get my hands on, be it WWE, be it NXT, or independent stuff. So guys like Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens and Finn Balor, I've watched them progress through the independents, what I'm doing now, and get to where they're at now. So I've got a little more invested, I guess you could say, in them just because I've watched them when they were under different names going from city to city doing the independent stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Here's the thing, with Edge, your favorite superstar, he was only a leader of a few groups, and there weren't he wasn't a big leader. I mean, I think he was a leader of a few of them, but like he was a member of the Brood. But you, like a few years ago, you had like probably in independent wrestling, to me, one of the biggest groups in, I guess, the Southeast, the Illuminati.
Yeah, that was. I will agree with that wholeheartedly. Me and Jason and Brendan and Cyrus all will agree that we were one of the top teams in the entire Southeast when it came to stuff like that. That was such a fun time too. I mean, me and Brandon and Jason Collins, like, we are extremely close. Like, we're really, really, really good friends. Like, I consider them brothers, and to be able to do that as much what we did, where we went, and I mean, it was just a blast. I mean, I had a blast with it, and it worked. I mean, everybody absolutely hated us. We did our job in it, but we meshed well together. Like, we could play off each other and not have to think about it.
Yeah. So, how exactly did that start out? I mean, did you come up to them with an idea at Empire and say, hey, or like someone would say, hey, I want to be in a group with so and so, and this is our name or something like that?
It started before Empire. It was just me and then Brendan and Jason Collins, and we were doing some stuff in Nashville for a SAW, and we were called the Three. And Jason came up with something that each letter of the word three stood for, and I can't think of it right now. I'm sure he'll hear this and remind me of it, when it posts. But I can't. But that's what it started, and I think if some people might remember this, our first few weeks, maybe the first month at Empire, we went by the Three. And then, the creative guys decided that, we could do better than that. And we got to thinking, and they brought up the Illuminati. And I'm not going to lie, I had no clue what the Illuminati was at all. So I went home that night and researched it, and I was like, this is pretty awesome. We could do so much with this. And me and Brendan and Jason, we got to talking, and we all agreed, and that's how the Illuminati was born.
Yeah, your theme music, that very much came with the team. I mean, that meshed so well. Like, who came up with putting "Welcome Home" from Coheed and Cabrina, I think their name is, to as your entrance music?
It's Coheed and Cambria, and that wasn't our original entrance music. Our original entrance music was Supernatural or Super something. One of the songs from the Twilight soundtrack, and I didn't like that song at all. I hated it, but I mean,
yeah, being from the Twilight soundtrack.
Yeah, but I think it was Brandon Collins that was like, "Hey, listen to this song. I think this would work a lot better." And I listened to it, and I instantly fell in love. I was like, "Yes, this is awesome. This is us." And it stuck, and it was, that was the Illuminati. When you heard that start, you knew without a shadow of a doubt who was coming out. It's kind of like, John Cena with his music. You can hear 2 seconds of it and know exactly who it is, and it meshed so well with the group. Like that was the perfect fit as far as entrance music went for us.
Yeah, I started coming to Empire in 2013, so I was, I guess, caught the end of the Illuminati era, but it still caught me really big because like when I went to Empire, I was usually a guy to cheer on back, like good guys on WWE. But my friends, him, Brian and his mom, they were big Illuminati fans. So for the first night I was there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see what they're about. As soon as I saw you come out, basically them come out, I was like, okay, I'm definitely cheering on this team because it just gave me a cool feeling. Like, people were putting up the sign, the Illuminati sign, and it was like kind of like the NWO. It was like cool to be, cheer on the bad guys.
Yeah, that's what was unique about the Illuminati is we got to the point to where people enjoyed seeing us, and it wasn't everybody. I think it was a 50-50 crowd, but I've never experienced it before. I never experienced, the signs. Like, people would have signs for us and signs against us, and it's, I've never had signs made for me before or about me before until the Illuminati, and it was surreal. It was really, really awesome, and I mean, like I said, it was just a blast.
Yeah, okay. In the Illuminati, you won you're the first Empire Junior Heavyweight Champion, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was the very first one. I actually won that in a four-way ladder match. It was me, Andrew Alexander, Kyle Matthews, and Logan Alvey in that ladder match. And
yeah. So you, Andrew Alexander, Logan Alvey, and who else?
Kyle Matthews, easily, arguably one of the best wrestlers in this whole Southeast area. I'd argue that he's one of the best in the United States right now, Kyle Matthews. So
yeah. So you that was probably a pretty dominant reign for you there. You had at this point, okay, after you won, you were the champion. You had this team, this group. I would assume this group that was basically taking over Empire. At that point, did you you feel like, oh crap, this is pretty cool because I'm the champion. Brandon and Jason are. I don't know if they had become the tag team champions yet, but they're on their way to. And Cyrus was on the way to become the heavyweight champion.
Yeah, we knew about a month in before, we started getting the titles and the stuff like that. We knew that we had something special, and it was really exciting. And it got to the point to where we knew what it was going to be, what it could be, and we were wanting to see how far we could take it. And we took it pretty far. I think at one point we had every title at Empire. Brandon and Jason were the tag champs. Cyrus was the heavyweight champ, and I was the junior heavyweight champ. And a fun fact about that, I am the only Triple Crown champion in Empire history. That not a lot of people realize that. I had a 2-week title reign, heavyweight title reign.
Filling in for Cyrus?
No. Well, there was that, but before that, WrestleMania 27, I cheated to beat Rush for the title, and then I took it to WrestleMania 27 with me, and then I came back the next week, and he beat me pretty quickly and got it back. But it's in the record book.
So does Empire just neglect that title reign for you there?
Yeah, they don't like to remember that because of how I won it and how dirty it was. But I mean, it's in the record books. I'm the only person to hold all 3 titles. And another fun fact, when I was a tag team champion, it was when Brandon Collins was injured, and so I was a double champion. I was the junior heavyweight champion and a tag champion with Jason at the same time. So
yeah, I actually saw that. My first Empire big event was Tooth and Nail 2. Remember it very vividly. It was a very good pay-per-view. I've got it on DVD, actually. It was you and Jason defending the tag titles against, I'm going to think it's maybe the Double Dragons or somebody. I think, I don't know.
God, that was so long ago. It feels like I can't remember. It was Double Dragons. It might have been the Wild Stallions. I can't
Yeah, but you defended them with Jason. I could probably say that.
Yeah, I pretty much the whole time the Illuminati had the tag titles, it was me and Jason. I know Brandon and Jason won them, and then shortly after that was when Brandon got hurt and he had to take a lot of time off. So, I stepped up and filled in, and I think Brandon came back, and 2 weeks after he finally came back, we ended up losing the tag titles. So
yes, because he came back and helped y'all guys win because later that night, 2-2, y'all won y'all's tag team match, or team match, I guess, against the Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, in the inside the cage.
No, that was in the inside the cage.
That was Tooth and Nail
2.
3.
No.
I think
that was Crazy from the Heat 2013.
Crazy from the Heat's when we did the War Games. That's right. Yeah, I remember. That was Tooth and Nail 2 was one of the first times we hooked up with the Devil's Rejects, and that was a fun feud. That was the Devil's Rejects owned Empire for so long, and then they kind of fizzled out, and we took the opportunity and stepped into the driver's seat, and we owned Empire, and we did things, and they took offense to it, so they tried to dethrone us, and they never really could until right there at the very end.
Yeah, I was there that first night I was there. It was the night that they came back against y'all or something.
Yeah, that was another one of those surreal moments. Like, you could feel it in the crowd, like they wanted to see something happen that night, and that, like I said, that was a fun little feud that we had with the Devil's Rejects.
Yes, that's pretty good. That if we're gonna talk about the feud with the Devil's Rejects, y'all back and forth each week. It was basically, I guess, just showing it out. It was like up in games between the two teams, basically what you are doing. And we got to, I guess y'all got to Crazy from the Heat 2013. I guess the feud got really big. And Cyrus ended up dropping out, I guess, of the team.
Yeah, there was some stuff going on behind the scenes, and Cyrus, he ended up taking a job and having to move, pretty far away, and so we did some searching because we had to have a fourth member, or just for the match, and so I finally came down to let me deal with it. I told Brandon and Jason, let me deal with it. I'll have somebody, and I ended up getting in touch with Seven, which was a former member of the Devil's Rejects, and it took some convincing, but I got him to be our fourth, and he ended up being the last man to enter for us, and it was a pretty big shock to everybody, even Brendan and Jason Collins, because I kind of kept that from them to the point where they didn't think that we had anybody. So, but that was one of those shocking moments in Empire history. When our fourth guy was announced, he was actually the final man to enter the cage that night, and it was Seven walks out. So I could just imagine being in the crowd, and especially the people that's been there that knew Seven was a part of the Devil's Rejects at one point, and then he just kind of disappeared. For him to come back as a member of the Illuminati, I think that was a huge. I can just imagine the shock factor for them.
Yeah, that was I'll give you a little insight on that. I remember it was a few weeks before, and me and Ryan, we love talking about wrestling. So we talked about that, and I was like, he's like, who do you think they're going to get for the fourth man of the Illuminati? And I said, right now, I was like, Seven. And he was like, no, you're crazy, man. I was like, Seven. I bet you it's Seven. And he was like, no. And we got to the actual event, and Seven came out, and he turned to me and goes, can you tell the future? And I go, I guess I can. And I remember that big event because I was so invested in that match. Ryan, his mom, because they had been there, and I had been there for a couple of months, and I was so invested in it because, it's a good feud between two teams that are basically really good.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, and like you alluded to earlier, it was one of those anything you can do, I can do better type deals. Devil's Rejects were there first and did everything, and then we kind of came along and was like, well, we can do it better, bigger and better than you. And I think there's a lot of things that we did bigger and better than the Rejects, and that's what ultimately brought them back together and got in the ring with us. But it was a lot of fun, and it was a turning point for all of our careers. It was a step in the right direction for everybody involved, So.
All right, that's pretty cool. Well, a few weeks after that event, y'all had the last match, last encounter between them. It wasn't in the cage. It was at a benefit show for I think it was Gypsy Joe Memorial Show.
Yeah.
And y'all had the last encounter between you two, and it was if the Doge Rejects lose, they had to disband. If the Illuminati loses, they have to disband, which it came down to y'all disbanding the Illuminati. So that's how it ended, I guess. It was, I guess people will say it was the right time to end. Did you think it was the right time to end it at that point?
No, I don't think it was the right time. I think, I can't control, to an extent what happens, but I felt that there was so much more that the Illuminati could do. But the circumstances were what they were, and we had to disband. But they didn't. When we disbanded, there was never a time frame on it. There was never it's a forever type deal. So there's always going to be that possibility that somewhere down the road, the Illuminati will get back together and dominate again. So
yeah, but that's the thing. Y'all dominated there for pretty much 2 or 3 years, I would say.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we were kings of the mountain for easily 3 years. I mean, we owned Empire, and then just to have it end abruptly like it did, it just, like I said, I feel like there is so much more we could have done, but rules are rules, and
yeah. So I guess it ended with you basically y'all saying your goodbyes, but then I guess you getting mad that apparently the Collins brothers had cost you the match, and you and Seven basically just tore them apart.
yeah, they it was I think it was either Brandon or Jason that took the pin in that match, and just I think frustration over that and frustration over it, realizing that it came to an end. The frustration just boiled over, and and I instructed Seven to take them out. And he did it. And he did it very well, actually.
Yeah. And then after that happened, a few months after you and Seven came out, I guess y'all became this big giant, this unified team, I guess you would say.
Yeah, we carried on, and we're actually a pretty dominant tag team. And then, he moved on, and I was kind of by myself for a little while. And then, let's see. So I was kind of by myself, but I started, after me and Seven split, I started, laying the groundwork for my next venture into the tag team realm with Cabal. So
yes. So Cabal, is that something that for me personally, I saw it as he just left the Illuminati, and I liked you as a singles guy. When you got together with the Cabal, actually, I was like, it's cool, but I kind of wanted to see what you could do on your own in a way.
Yeah. The Cabal was my attempt to get back what I had with the Illuminati. I'm the one that approached, Team Temptation, and I'm the one that put this thing together. As much as Sean Tempers and Steve Dave want to say it was them, it was me. I was the mastermind behind it. and it just wasn't what the Illuminati was, but that's kind of hard to do. Nothing will be like the Illuminati was. It was a once in a lifetime type thing, and the only way that you'll ever get what the Illuminati had was to bring back the Illuminati. That's the only way you'll ever have a repeat of it.
Yeah, is it ever a possibility? You said if you earlier that is a possibility they might come back. Is it something that might come back? Maybe you can come back with new members.
You never say never in this crazy sport of professional wrestling. There's always the possibility that the Illuminati can come back in some shape or form. There's always the possibility that the Illuminati, the original Illuminati, returns. You never know what's going to happen. If the situation is right and everything falls into place, then you never know. You might see the Illuminati step back into the ring together one day.
That's good to hear. And I will just take a moment to tell a story about the first time I met you, which was a pretty cool. To be honest with you, at that time I was kind of, I didn't really want to go approach the wrestlers because I was still shy and timid. And I remember I had made, it was when the Illuminati was still going by, I had made, some of my first picture ads on my phone of the Illuminati. And Ryan was like, "Here's Johnny Viper." And I showed the picture to you. I remember you looked at me and you're like, "Nice to meet you, man."
Yeah, I remember that vaguely. I kind of got this thing where I get hit in the head a lot, so my memory is not the best in the world. But I vaguely remember that conversation way back a long time ago.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I remember that I'd made those, and it for me, people asked why, I was so drawn to you as me being a big fan. I'm probably the biggest Johnny Viper fan out there. It's because with Edge and Cena back in 2006, I guess you would say, Cena's my favorite, wrestler, but I liked Edge because, he was cool, he was bad, he had this factor that drawn you to him. And I was cheering on Cena because back then I was I was into the good guys. And I saw you, and it was clearly you were taking stuff from Edge and, putting it towards your character. And, you're pretty cool at the time, so I was like, I'm going to invest, see what I can do and help this guy out.
Yeah, it's cool to hear, different people talk about how, how they look up to me, or how I'm one of their favorites. I don't get that part of it. It's cool, but I'm just I'm just me. I go out there and I do the Johnny Viper thing, and I go home, and so it's still it'll always be pretty cool to hear stories like that. But yeah, man, the photo edits that you do, you can look on my Facebook page, my Johnny Viper Facebook page, and they're littered with edits that you've done. I think a lot of my profile pictures were edits that you've done, but I know I've got a ton of pictures that you've edited. You do a really good job, and I love I love having pictures like that because you can use it as promotional tools. So
yes, and I kind of involved from using my phone, which is what I used that first one I made you, that solo one, which I guess you loved.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still got that on my Facebook, but
yeah,
I was the very first customer for the JMX stuff. So that's just add that to the list of accomplishment first times that I've got.
Yeah, but I've transitioned from my phone to GIMP, now the Photoshop, which I'm doing very well in.
Yeah, your stuff's gotten tremendously better. You did headers for me a couple weeks ago for my Facebook and my Twitter page, and they were really, really awesome.
Yeah. But I saw I started interviewing, and I was like, let me help this other guy, and I started branching out, adding helping other wrestlers of theirs, and it's very cool because they would say, oh, I saw your stuff for Johnny Viper, and I'd be like, oh, that's cool, and then things go around, and the thing with me is they say, why don't you charge, and I say, okay, I'm not professionally trained. I've trained myself. This is something I've loved doing probably for 2 or 3 years. And, if I want to, help people out with it, and because I've taught myself how to do it, I think I deserve the right to do it. So that's why I've, gave help to people who want profile pictures or covers or anything I can make them, because it's my, opportunity to give back to somebody.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, we as wrestlers use it as promotional tools. You can never, ever, ever have enough promotional material. Like T-shirt, use it for T-shirts or for print them off as pictures and autograph them and sell them, and it's stuff like that. So to be able to get that for cheap or for free, I mean, guys will jump all over that.
Yeah. And, I guess Matt mentioned this in the last podcast. It's my way of getting in a way with, to talk, personally with the wrestlers, which I like it, because it's cool. And, like, I don't, I've loved wrestling since I was probably 10 or 9, but I don't really want to be a professional wrestler. No offense to you. I don't exactly want to, get hurt. I hate getting hurt. It sucks. So, I'm not really into that. So this is my way of, I guess, getting in the business in a way, but helping people out.
Yeah, because it's a love-hate thing with wrestling. You either absolutely love it or you absolutely hate it. There's not really a in between. But a lot of people don't realize, how much you actually have to put into being a wrestler. I mean, even for guys like me and Matt and people that you see at Empire, we might not be doing this, but on like Fridays and Saturdays, just a weekend thing, but we still put in just as much work, during the week as, say a John Cena or an Edge would, So, I mean, you're always putting it out there. You're always, working to advance because you've always got to continue to improve. You can't get complacent because once you get complacent, you start falling behind, and then it's hard to fall behind to get caught back up.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, I guess you'd say get to improve. I've been improving my designs like really good, and I'm probably gonna get a lot better. But like I've discovered this is probably my dream, which I've had a lot of dreams. I mean, game designing I wanted to do for a couple of years. Never, I kind of figured that out. When I got a little bit smarter, that it'd be a hell of a lot harder to do that. But I found this and I latched onto it, and it's become something that I guess made it in a way my own.
Yeah, and like I said, you do a really good job at it. But it's funny, you talk about dreams and stuff. It's funny how life works out, because if I had lived out my dreams, I'd be playing professional baseball somewhere right now. I wouldn't be wrestling. So I never dreamed in a million years that I'd be a professional wrestler. I always thought it would be, football or baseball. So it's funny how life works out that way.
Yeah, it does. I mean, to get out of this talk, which I love to talk about myself, but this is about you, the world's greatest athlete, Johnny Viper. What is your seeing as WWE talk? What is your favorite segment of Raw every week or WWE every week?
I don't. Oh, that's such a tough question. I love what they've been doing with the Divas lately, allowing them to step up and do some more stuff. The Undertaker Brock Lesnar stuff has been really, really good. I'm invested in the Dolph Ziggler Rusev storyline. That's a really but I'm a huge Dolph Ziggler fan, so
Man, you make the only one of us in this conversation invested in that. It just I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way, and it's not like I hate Ziggler. I'm a pretty big Ziggler fan. I used to not be, but I'm a pretty big Ziggler fan. It's just Rusev. I've never been a big fan of him.
Yeah, Rusev is one of those that he's a big guy, but he can move. And Rusev, the character that he's got, is actually it's a really good character because you just absolutely hate it with a passion. You hate him coming out and yelling in Bulgarian and being pro Russia and pro Bulgaria. It's just you absolutely hate it, but it gets you invested. And then Ziggler, that he could wrestle a broom and it would be a main event caliber match. Dolph Ziggler is just so good at what he does.
Yeah. You talked about the divas, which I'll put out there. Becky Lynch on the other podcast, I say that she's being less used than all the other ones, which I think it's because, they want to focus on Charlotte. But, with me, I draw more towards Becky, and I think she probably would be a very good, asset as maybe a Divas champion than, say, Charlotte. Because to me, it seems like they're coasting her on the fact that she's Ric Flair's daughter.
Yeah, and that's something that always happens. If you take a look at, people that are in wrestling now that their fathers were a big part of, they're always gonna get more of the spotlight just because of who their father was. But I'm a big Paige fan.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I'm a fan of her wrestling too.
Yeah, she. I'd like to see her, end up with the Divas title again, but I don't know. It's hard to tell right now which direction they're going to go with that because I mean, right now there's so many good, divas that they've got. Sasha Banks is phenomenal, and the Bella Twins are really good, and Becky Lynch and Paige. So it's hard to figure out what direction they're actually going to go. And then, you look at NXT and you've got a ton of women down there that at any point in time could get the call up and be successful. So it's hard to try to figure out what WWE is actually doing with their divas other than just putting on really awesome segments.
Yeah, which ever since they've done this, I would tell you that there's no snack breaks unless it's like, a tag team match, which I will tell you right now, I am not a big fan of the thrown together tag team matches they do on Raw as a main event. Like, if they have Orton and Cesaro versus Sheamus and Kevin Owens, I'm not gonna be really invested in that because they just throw it together to further some feuds. I'm really invested in the tag team division. If they're actually a team, I like it.
Yeah, the tag team wrestling really hadn't gotten the respect it deserves lately up until now. They're really letting the tag team division run, and, stuff like that trickles down into the independents like us. But yeah, it's awesome to see WWE trying to make tag team wrestling relevant again, and I think they're doing it now.
Yeah, I think every division they have is probably good now. I wouldn't say that there's not anyone getting a shot. I mean, unless you would say, like individual superstars or divas, maybe they're not getting shot, but in the actual division, they're giving, people time.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice because there used to be like when I was at WrestleMania or when we would go to Raw, or even you go to the house shows at the UTC Arena. In the past, when the divas would come out, that was the bathroom break. That was, oh yeah, take a few pictures and I could go to the bathroom, tell me who wins, type deal. But now, there's not really. I guess if I had to choose a segment that I would use as a bathroom break, it would be the Intercontinental title stuff they're doing right now. I'm just not.
Yeah, I'm not into that either. And I will say something that is probably gonna piss a lot of people off. I do not like Ryback. I don't like him. I don't think he. I loved him at first when they came in, but he's not believable to me as a champion. That's the thing. To be honest with you, if I were to pick a person to be the champion in that division, I'd probably say The Miz. And you're probably saying, whoa, okay, I'd say The Miz because when he had the Intercontinental title, at least he tried to be the part of a champion, like kind of like that. Because I saw him as a champion. I didn't see him as like not a champion. But yeah, it's that. And then having Big Show in there, which is like another thing that really gets to me, is that they just throw Big Show into any feud that they want to now.
Yeah, you gotta feel sorry for the Big Show because one week he'll come out and you'll absolutely hate him, and the next week he'll come out and you'll cheer him. It's like they can't make up their mind what they want to do with the Big Show. See,
Exactly like Mark Henry. They with them two, they are like heel turn, face turn, heel turn, face turn, and um, I think it'd be good for them to get together as a bad tag team. I'd be like, wreck people up, take their spot.
yeah, I could get into that tag team. That'd be good.
Add another few big guys. Add Rusev in there, and
Yeah, that I could get behind that. That'd be pretty awesome. I don't know. I have no clue what they're gonna do with the Big Show though.
to be honest, I think I think he should become somebody's, I guess, manager. I think that'd be a good role for him. He could still be somewhat, in the wrestling aspect. He's big enough to where he could.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of get the sense that Big Show is gonna want to start working a limited schedule, which probably could work more in his favor. Just because you see him every week and he's doing something different every week, and he goes on a limited schedule, then you're only going to see him like once every few months, and I think that would have a bigger impact than him seeing him every week.
Oh yeah, but that would work for everybody. I mean, kind of like a Rob Van Dam schedule.
Yeah.
He has a pretty good schedule. When he goes by WWE, he does it only a few dates, and then he's out of his contract, and he comes back, and then goes back, and he comes back, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that would work better for Big Show working on that limited schedule. Time will tell, though. We'll see what they decide to
do. Okay, we're going to switch over to Music Talk, which is something that I'm going to say the segment name. I guess it's going to be Music Talk for now. Your entrance musics, I've heard, they've been pretty good. Your entrance music right now is War of Ages. It's Bow On by War of Ages. So how'd you say, when I disband from the Illuminati, I want that as my theme?
It's just you work out what character you're going to go with, and I knew what direction that I was going to go in after the Illuminati, so you try to find music to fit, and I've got a list of tons of music that I could use as entrance music, but Battle On by War of Ages just, I don't know, something clicked, and it fit with what I'm doing right now, so...
Yeah, and when you hear it at the Empire Arena, you know who's coming out.
Yeah. I'm not one to change my music a lot like some people do.
Which I will name someone at Empire, a team, which the Hatriots, they change their music every few months, which it gets to me so freaking bad. I'm like, stick with one music, man. Come on.
It works for them. I don't like it. I like having one music and just sticking with that until I get sick and tired of it, which takes a long time.
Mm-hmm. So, where, like, just name a few, because I know you got a bunch of them, your favorite bands, basically.
Killswitch Engage and Mudvayne and Metallica would be my top. You know, War of Ages, Seven Dust. I'm really big on Gemini Syndrome. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. I actually went to a War of Ages concert, and you were there. Me and
Oh,
Ryan did. That was nice.
oh yeah, that's the second time I've seen War of Ages, and um, they don't disappoint. They put on a really good show.
Yeah, I like the fact that they went basically almost all the way out for, like, it wasn't much people there.
Yeah, they get up on stage and they're like there could be like four people in the crowd and they'd go all out. They're just one of those bands that just love performing in front of people. And their stuff is really, really good when they're live. Seven Dust, if you ever get the opportunity to go see a Seven Dust concert, do it because they put on a phenomenal live show. It's
Yeah. Yeah, you heard it right here. Johnny Viper is advising you, if you get a chance to see Seven Dust live, do it.
Oh yeah, I've seen Seven Dust about 10, 11 times in my life, and it's one of those shows that it's gonna be energetic. You know, there's gonna be fan participation. You're gonna have fun, and you're gonna headbang. They put on they really good shows.
Yes. Here's the thing. The music we like to listen to, which is metal or rock, or I don't know what else you got, metal rock, the heavy stuff. What drew you to that as music? Were you ever into hip hop or country or all that other stuff?
I listen to other things. As growing up, here in Chattanooga, there's 100 different country stations. So, you know, but I remember I was in middle school, mid '90s, and my dad, he had his radio station that he liked. It was Light Mix 105, and I remember it was a Friday night. We were in the car going out to eat. The family was, and my dad, he's like, "Hey, listen to what Light Mix 105 plays now," and he switched over there, and it was "Got the Life" by Korn was playing, and I was like, "That's awesome." So that's how I started by listening to Rock 105 when it changed over, and then I just was hooked ever since.
Yeah. My story of becoming basically a metalhead is I was very much into, like, hip hop. That was my thing back then. That's why I connected so with John Cena, because hip hop, the thing. But my brother, I guess you can call him a goth. He wore black. His hair was black. He was long. He was slanky. He listened to metal bands and stuff like that. I had one time saw a CD and it was City of Evil by Avenged Sevenfold. And I was curious. I popped it in and I listened to it. And the first song I heard was Backcountry. And I just went nuts because it sounded so cool to me at the time. I was like, that's cool because, I've never really heard something like that. And I guess that rings true because, I guess, take the mantle from my brother. My favorite band right now is Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, they're getting more mainstream now, and I kind of don't like that because you listen to their first two albums, like it was really heavy, a lot of screaming and a lot of the heavy stuff, and then City of Evil, I think that started their transition. And don't get me wrong, they still got some pretty heavy stuff, but they're more mainstream now.
Yeah, and hey, I like them being mainstream. I mean, but here's the thing. I like when I tell people, hey, I'm listening to Vince Sevenfold, and they say, who? Because, that's like, oh, it's just a me. I know him. You don't know who it is? Oh, you should.
Yeah, and a lot of people, you say, I like Vince Sevenfold, they're like, who? But then you start playing, oh, I know that band. That's a Vince Sevenfold?
Because they play it on Walk 105 every chance they get. It's Backcountry, it's Hell to the King, it's City of, like, mostly all City of Evil stuff. And I've kept being being a favorite of their band because it's like, I'm not one of those people, if I like a band, I'm not going to turn on them at instant because they have a couple songs I don't like. I'm going to stick with the band. Like, it'd be my favorite is because all the albums they've made, I've loved. The one I don't really love as much and is the last album, but I love a lot of songs on the album. I just don't like the actual album itself.
Yeah, I don't listen to the radio too much anymore. I've got Spotify on my phone. You ought to download that app if you get a chance. It's really awesome. You can pick out your favorite bands and get all of their albums and songs on your phone, and it's free. But I use that now, and YouTube. I YouTube a lot, finding new bands.
Yeah, I've found so many bands over the course of a year, and I have become, I guess you would say, someone who finds a song by a band, and I'll look straight immediately into other songs they have. Like, I got into Icon for Hire, which I'll tell you the reason I did is because the chick was hot in the thumbnail. I clicked on it, sounded good to me, and I went to look up their other songs. And they have some good songs. I love them.
I did the same thing. I was looking through my YouTube one day, and it was in the recommended for me file, and it was Get Well was the song.
Yeah.
That was the thumbnail, so I was like, she's kind of cute. I wonder what this sounds like. So I clicked on it, and it was pretty good. So.
Yeah. And you got me another band, which War of Ages and plus Blame Shift.
Yeah, Blame Shift. That one popped up in my recommended because I started listening to Icon for Hire. And then that Blame Shift, they're really good. And then that led me into to another female-fronted band, New Year's Day, and I'm big into them right now.
Which I think I've helped you in that a little bit.
Yeah, they're getting ready to put out a new album actually.
Yeah, I listened to that, and that was very good. And in this day of age, I've been really big into those kind of bands, those female-fronted bands, because they do a lot of things that, when you listen to bands fronted by guys, it sounds cool, but when you hear something with girls singing, it's cool because they're a metal band that they were girls singing that she sounds badass.
Yeah. I don't have a preference if it's a guy or a girl. My wife does. She's not big into the female fronted bands, but I'm just like, I don't care if if it makes me headbang, then I'm gonna like it. So.
Yeah. Headbanging and everything. But to name my favorite bands, so Avenged Sevenfold's at the top of my list. I have 5. I've named them. But my fifth is the Pretty Reckless. Very good band. I love them.
Oh, yeah.
4th one, Hailstorm. That's something I've, I guess, grown into because I have a bunch of friends who just are really into them, and I've got 3rd one is Papa Roach, which I was very much into them. It was probably my first big band. It was like my favorite band for a while, and then Vince Sevenfold took over. My number 2 is War of Ages, and then Avenged Sevenfold. But yeah, that's like a range of sounds in metal, and I listen to other genres, but I don't really go, crazy into them. Like I was very much in ICP for a little bit. I still like them, but I'm not as big into them as I used to be.
Yeah, you mentioned Hellstorm. I was big into Hellstorm in their first album, and then it got overplayed to me, so I just kind of I fell off.
That one song, it's something misery, I think it's called. But yeah, it was played. So that's what they do on Rock 105 and on the radio stations. They play stuff too much.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I stopped really listening to the radio.
I YouTube a lot. That's basically all I do when I listen to stuff.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, Spotify, that's the way to go. That's what I'm on right now. It's an awesome.
Yeah, but I've music, but to me, like when I'm designing something, music, I'll play stuff to like, if I'm in a mood, I'll play stuff that kind of matches my mood and I'll start designing stuff. Like when I design your stuff, I listen to War of Ages, which I know that kind of sounds a little weird, but it kind of gets me into that mindset of, oh, I'm making something for Johnny Viper, I'm making some fun, like War of Ages, style, his style is this or something like that.
Yeah. I get the same way. I listen to certain stuff, and it just gets me in the mood and the mindset to do things that I need to get done.
But next is TV show talk, which is based on the TV shows this generation has been. There's a lot of good TV shows around. Like, what's up with what you watch?
Mine's a whole lot of comic book stuff. Arrow and The Flash and Gotham. iZombie, which a lot of people don't realize that's a DC comic book as well. That's a really good show. Obviously, The Walking Dead. I've watched Walking Dead since the very first episode in the very first season and been hooked. I like Chrisley Knows Best.
Wow.
It's a good show. I like Chrisley Knows Best. It makes me laugh. Let's see, I'm trying to think. I like SpongeBob, but that's because I got kids and that's all they watch is SpongeBob.
Hey man, I grew up on the generation of SpongeBob,
Yeah,
so I'm very much into it.
That wasn't my generation. I was talking to my wife about this on the phone earlier today. My generation was Doug and Rocko's Modern Life, the Rugrats, stuff like that. That was my generation. That was good stuff. I do like to watch Cartoon Network a lot, but mainly for Adult Swim because they run Family Guy and American Dad and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Absolutely love Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Yeah. So since you're in like the generation of like the '90s stuff, did you watch Kenan and Kel maybe?
Oh yeah, Kenan and Kel, all that. I love those Nickelodeon shows. I miss.
Yeah, yeah. But I I was born in '95, so I was watching those too. Basically when I was 5 years old. Great shows on there. And they came out on TNIC with the '90s back block that they came out with. I was so freaking hyped. I was like, gonna watch some Ken and Kel, watch while I'm drinking orange soda and shit.
Yeah, you gotta have orange soda if you watch Kenan and Kel.
Yeah, I remember a few weeks ago I got orange soda. I was like, who loves orange soda?
Kel loves orange soda. I love that. I was big. I grew up on the TGI Friday stuff, which was Step by Step and Boy Meets World and Full House. And,
yeah.
Family.
Boy Meets World is a big thing for me. I basically grew up on the reruns because I grew up on after it on ABC Family because they'll basically put on their 2 hours basically each episode and shit.
Oh, yeah. Have you caught Girl Meets World?
Yeah, I've actually, don't judge me for this, I've actually found myself semi almost crying on that because it brings back a lot of memories for me.
Yeah. I'm into that. I'm looking forward to the Full House reboot because I grew up on Full House too. And I just saw earlier this week, it was either earlier this week or late last week.
Fresh Prince?
Yeah, Fresh Prince is coming back. I'm super pumped about that. I love the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
I'd probably actually be watching Nick at Night right now if the Michael Keaton Batman wasn't on.
Yeah. But, my shows, I like Arrow, Flash, basically anything on the CW. iZombie I don't like. It's not the fact that it's not a good show. Just, to me, it seems like it's like gendered towards women more, and I didn't really get into it, actually. But I like the show Haven, which is actually canceled now. They actually canceled it, which is a show that Edge is on.
Oh yeah, they're running through October of this year.
Yeah,
That's really the only reason why I don't really watch Haven as a fan. I just watch it because that's how I can see Edge right now. I know that
yeah.
sounds
I
dumb.
like the show, and he got me into it because like, oh, it's Edge's on. I'm gonna watch that, and then I really fell in love with the story of it. And
Yeah,
he's became a big role on the show.
yeah. Edge is he's gonna be a villain. Uh, maybe either a villain or
First episode of The Flash,
yeah, he's gonna be in the Flash. So I'm pretty
Adam Smasher.
yeah, and it's gonna end up being a reoccurring role. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, since Haven is actually gonna, is ending, he should try find other roles, which is what he's doing. It's pretty cool to see him doing that.
Yeah. I'm also excited for the, now that I've seen a trailer, I'm actually really excited for the Supergirl show that CBS is going to run.
That what?
Supergirl?
Oh yeah, I've actually saw the leaked pilot of it.
Yeah,
Great show, man.
and I'm big onto the, Daredevil on Netflix.
Not me, man. My brother was like, "Hey, you gotta watch this." I was like, "Okay." I remember he came over and he was like, "You still haven't watched that show?" I was like, "I watched 10 minutes of it. That's enough, isn't it?" And he's like, "No, it isn't. You gotta better sit your ass down. I'm gonna make your ass watch this." I was like, "Okay." We watched like 5 episodes. He's like, "You cool?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not watching this shit."
It's actually, a lot better than the movie that Ben Affleck was in so many years ago. That was just horrible. But
Yeah, I think it's just me. I'm a DC guy, and I've never really been big into Marvel.
I'm a DC guy, but there's certain stuff from Marvel that I watch, like Daredevil, and I'm extremely pumped for the um Deadpool movie.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
am
wait.
too. That's the things I like from Marvel are X-Men, Deadpool, Gambit from X-Men, Spider-Man, and a few other ones. I like from Marvel.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm into Spider-Man. I didn't like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, but I liked the guy that did the Amazing Spider-Man, the two of those. I liked that guy.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man, which
Yeah,
to be
those are
really
pretty
honest with you,
good.
I love those, and to see that they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna do another reboot after we like 4 years after we already did another reboot," I was like, I like the Amazing Spider-Man. It's very dark.
Yeah, but Marvel, to me, Marvel's staying more comic booky. They're not going the dark route. Marvel's trying to stay happy and upbeat and comic booky, if that makes any sense
Yeah.
whatsoever.
And that's the thing, like, I don't like Avengers. Like, I've been very doted to say I'm never gonna watch an Avengers movie ever, which I won't. Maybe if I get a girlfriend that might change, which it's almost happened.
I like the Avengers. I'll watch it. Like I said, I'm a DC guy, but I'll watch the Avengers movies. I like Thor. And I liked Iron Man. I'm not too big on Captain America, but I've watched the Captain America stuff. But I'll watch the Marvel movies. I did watch Ant-Man, and that was a really, really, really good movie. It was a lot better than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's one I want to see right there.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. They did a really good job with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been checking out the Scream TV show on MTV, which is actually very good. I love it.
Uh, I just can't get into anything on MTV anymore.
Well, yeah, I don't like the fact that it's still called MTV, which is because that's not music TV anymore. It
No, it was music TV when I was growing up.
yeah it MTV2 is like the music TV, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
To each their own, I guess.
Yeah. But But TV shows and all that, they're really cool. I like to, but if I'm not doing design, I'm doing TV shows and gaming systems. I do those sometimes, but I haven't really touched my PS4 in a month, which is kind of weird. It's over there collected dust.
Yeah, I just recently acquired a PS4, and I'm working through Batman Arkham Knight right now.
Yeah,
I'm actually
those are two games I want this year, and it's Batman Arkham Knight and WWE 2K16.
I pre-ordered WWE 2K16 yesterday, and I'm pretty pumped about it. All I gotta do is go pick it up in October.
Yes, I saw a video today, and it was showing how you can port your face into the Creative Superstar now.
Well, that's
And they're showing off Stephen Amell. It was weird. Like it didn't look exactly like him, but it had very crap. It looks like him.
Yeah.
Which with you, I'll be like, oh crap, I'll make him. I might have to get his beard in the shot and try to make it in there and stuff.
Yeah. That was always one of the first things I do when I get a new wrestling game, or even if I get a new. I'm big on the MLB The Show and the Madden games, and then the NCAA football when it was out. So that'd be one of the first things I would do would be create myself and put myself on my favorite teams, or create myself as a wrestler on the WWE games. So that was always one of my first things that I did when I get a new game.
Yeah, I guess I've made myself known again for making people on 2K15. I guess you'd say.
Yeah, you've done a really good job with the Johnny Viper character on your games last year, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you come up with this year, and the fact that I can actually download it this year, and it'll look really good because I have a PS4 now. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of one day I decided, okay, I want to play as Johnny Viper. I'm gonna make him, and I made him, and I made you on there, and it was in the 2K14 one before the 2K15 one, and I remember and Ryan was like, you should send that to him, and I was like, okay, and then you're like, oh damn.
Yeah, that was a lot better than anything that I come up with.
Yeah, it's very weird like that. Yours this year made so many people, be like, hey, can you make me on the game? I'll be like, damn, okay, I'll do it. Like Bane or Brandon, yeah, Bane.
Yeah, Bane.
Yeah, he basically was like, hey, can you make me one? I was like, okay. And he even sent me shots of his gear and everything. I was like, thank you, I can use this to make you on there.
Yeah, Bane, he's out there. He's a good guy. I've known him forever and a year too, but since '99. But he's he's out there. But he's one of those that you gotta love him. He's just he's a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt Fortune. Me and him came up with a thing. If when you come back and your gear's not ready or whatever, you might come out with some stylized shorts like John Cena, some jorts.
I don't think I'll ever wear jorts. I'm a tights guy, mainly because I don't have to shave my legs.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, I don't. I shave enough as it is. I don't. I'm not. I hate.
Yeah.
That's if there's one thing that I absolutely hate about being a wrestler, that's having to shave.
Yeah. Yeah, something that I in a few years want. I want a big giant beard. I don't know why. I mean, I've always. I think it's because when I shave off my little facial hair I do have on, I look like I'm 10.
Yeah, that's me. That's why I keep the beard. I actually I actually trimmed my beard here the last couple of days, so it's still there, but it's kind of short again.
Yeah. But yeah, to end this off, what do you think your best feuds in wrestling or your career so far, or you want to have, feuds with, who you want to have feuds with, would you want? Like, can you name some,
That's another one of those really tough questions. The stuff I did with Andrew Alexander, that feud was a really fun feud. I learned a lot in that feud. The feud that I had with Kyle Matthews, that was like an ongoing thing pretty much my whole time in the Illuminati. That was a lot of fun. The short feud that I did with Sean Tempers was a lot of fun. Anytime me and Matt Fortune or me and Joey Lynch or me and Bane get in the ring, it's a lot of fun just because we've known each other so long that we anticipate what we're going to do before it even happens. So that's a lot of fun.
Okay, yeah. That's
I had fun with Tank. The stuff that I've done with Tank, I had a lot of fun with that. Learned a lot from him too. He's an awesome guy to be in the ring with. I've been in the ring with Rush a couple of times. I'd like to do some more stuff with him. I'd like to do some stuff with Drew Delight if he ever decided to step back in the ring again. That would be a lot of fun. There's just a plethora of guys that I want to do stuff with.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, a feud I would like to see happen again. It was so short. You mentioned it, is Sean Tempers. Like, finally see kind of like a bigger feud between you two.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I don't know what the future holds for me. Like I said earlier, I'm, on the shelf right now nursing this shoulder injury. So I don't know, what's going to happen when I am cleared to come back. Right now it's just a waiting game, doing the physical therapy and, trying to get back strong again and waiting on the doctors to clear me so I can go back to work. And like I said, I don't know, I don't know what'll happen once I get cleared, but I can guarantee it's going to be a fun time when I get back in the ring again.
Okay. To end this off with, end this off with a good new segment here. What is your actual, who do you think is going to win the main event of SummerSlam this year?
I don't think there's going to be a winner. I think it's good. I think somebody's going to get involved, and I'm assuming that the main event is going to be Cena and Rollins, and I would want Rollins to win because I'm a big Rollins fan. But I think, especially after hearing John Cena talk to Triple H the way he did Monday night, I think Triple H gets involved, and that ends up being a no contest or something to that effect.
Here's the opinion I think is going to happen. I know it's probably not going to happen, but I see this happening. When Cena came on Monday, I'm a big Cena fan, so I know when he talks, I know there's differences, but he talked to me, something like he could turn like a heel turn into. The reason I'm saying that is because he came out and basically said, hey, I'm going to win this. I'm going to, you're looking at 6-time champion next Monday. That's what next Monday. That's who you're looking at. And the reason I think he's going to is because he did that whole speech about that, and I think they're saying that Triple H and Rollins might be going to a feud together. That might happen to where he loses the title to Cena, and Triple H is so freaking bad that he tarnished his legacy that he just says, you're not part of the 4D anymore. Like, I want to just get rid of you.
Yeah, that's a possibility. I don't know. I think if they're going to go that route, I don't think they'll put it on. I don't think they'll put Cena over. I think they'll put somebody else in that role to beat Seth Rollins. But I think that Seth Rollins will get to the point where he is beat. It'll almost be like a repeat of the Brock Lesnar Seth Rollins fight from Battleground, where Seth Rollins was done. He was out, defeated, and then, boom, there's the Undertaker, and the match ends. I think it's going to be something along those lines.
Yeah, do you see Sheamus coming out with the briefcase?
Only if John Cena wins. If Seth Rollins wins, or if that ends in a no contest, I don't think Sheamus cashes in. I think if John Cena wins, I think Sheamus will cash in on him.
Yeah, but yeah, it's yeah, I see. But either way, SummerSlam is gonna be a pretty good show. I can see it from the matches on the card.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for Sunday.
Yeah, I got the WWE Network to watch it.
Oh yeah, the WWE Network is the best thing I've ever paid for. I absolutely love it. I said I love the WWE Network. I'm always watching something on it.
Mm. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, man. We finally got you on. It's been a couple of days.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of days with school and work and everything. But man, it was a blast. Thanks for having me, Ed.
Yeah. Hopefully, get you and Matt Fortune on together, because I know he wants to be on again, stroking his ego. His imaginary ego he has. And
yeah, he needs somebody to check his ego at the door, and I'm the man to do it.
Yeah. Well, I would say, good luck on your recovery. Hope to see you at Empire, or back at Empire.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll definitely be back. I just can't say when right now.
Well, thanks for coming on. I'll talk to you, I guess, when we do the whole tag team, podcast with Fortune, hopefully.
That sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully Matt brings his A game, because I'll have mine.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Not a problem, man. You have a good one.